Hello everyone. Our topic is financial inclusion. We live in a stratified society where there are no equal financial opportunities. Some are relegated at the peripherals of the state. In a bid to ensure that all have access to financial services, the business entities, the business society has employed the concept of financial inclusion. Now, we want to know how about this financial inclusion concept came into being.
Moving on to financial inclusion background, Kamara defined financial inclusion as the process by which access to and use of formal financial services are maximized whilst minimizing unintended barriers perceived as such by those individuals who do not take part in the formal financial system. Therefore, financial inclusion as a policy emanated from third world countries who felt they needed to get access to financial services as they had minimum financial accessibility. For example, it is more difficult for developing countries to get funds from World Bank compared to developed countries. According to David M. and Raraito in the book Determinants of Financial Inclusion Southern Africa, the means that financial inclusion is a critical socio-economic issue that required international institutions, governments, central banks, financial institutions, researchers, and policymakers to take into account.
So, moving on to the objectives of financial inclusion. There are various objectives of financial inclusion. The first one is to help people to secure financial products and services at affordable prices. Our society that we have in Zimbabwe is stratified. People have different financial needs that they need to meet, hence the need for there to be affordable prices. The second objective of financial inclusion is that it aims to establish proper financial institutions to cater for the needs of the weaker sections of society. Financial inclusion also seeks to eradicate poverty whilst ensuring economic growth. By everyone having access to financial services, it means that there is eradication of poverty. How? Because people have access to loans to start their own businesses. Moving on to another objective of financial inclusion also aims to build and maintain financial sustainability. More so, financial inclusion also seeks to bring about financial services that are accessible to all, including those that are in remote areas. So when we are looking at financial inclusion, not only does it seek to be, to help people to eradicate poverty, but also to ensure that people, even in the remote areas, have access to financial services. It doesn't matter if one is in Lotito, it doesn't matter if one is in Jimba, but all should have equal opportunities. How is this possible if you are looking at financial inclusion in Zimbabwe? We have mobile services that are available for us. We have EcoCash platforms. We've got One Wallet, whereby one can access financial services irregardless of where they are. Moving on now, there are various merits of financial inclusion. The merits of financial inclusion are that it's to promotion of efficient allocation of productive resources, sustainable development, reduction of the exploitation of the bottom ones in society. Moving on to the other merit of financial inclusion. The other merit of financial inclusion is that financial inclusion leads to financial growth. How, you might ask, does financial inclusion lead to financial growth? Looking at the Zimbabwean system, it means our financial sector, economic sector is going to grow. How? Because if everyone is to have access to a banking account, it means there are more taxes that are going to be coming into the economy, and this will help our economy better. For example, there are various sectors, initiatives that have been put in place by banks. For example, a usual bank account, one needs to have a pay slip for them to be able to open an account. But due to the financial inclusion policies, you find that they are now, for example, NMB Bank, there's the NMB Light account, whereby people who have low income jobs have access to financial services, have access to financial bank accounts. That way, helping the economy to grow better financially. Now, moving on to the demerits of financial inclusion. The demerits of financial inclusion is that it's not accessible to all. How is it not accessible to all? You might note that not everyone has access to a mobile phone. This means that they will be excluded then from having access to a financial service, because you can't access EcoCash, you can't access One Wallet, you can't access the mobile banking app if you do not have a mobile phone. So there are some technical glitches that will be there if you don't have a mobile phone, meaning that you don't have any access to financial services. Also, you can find that there's paperwork that is involved, irregardless of the kind of bank. Like, for example, we mentioned that you can get a bank account using the NMB Lite. But now, if you don't have an ID or if you don't have a proof of residence, you cannot access financial services or even open that NMB Lite account. So you find that these are some of the demerits of financial inclusion that we have. Now, we would like to contextualize. You might ask yourself, how then does this principle, this concept of financial inclusion link with the Zimbabwean scenario? So now, I'll tell you about the Zimbabwean perspective of financial inclusion. In 2016, the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe initiated what is called the Zimbabwe National Financial Inclusion Strategy. It was founded to ensure that all, irregardless of one's gender, like I mentioned before, they are able to access financial services. The disabled people, the youth are able to access financial services. So this Zimbabwe National Financial Strategy that was adopted by the Reserve Bank has four main tenets. The first tenet that it has, financial innovation. Financial innovation how? To ensure that financial services are available for all. There are innovative ideas that they've come up with, which, for example, EcoCash is one of the financial innovations that have come out from this policy. One Wallet is another that has come about. More so, the other second tenet that they have is financial capability. Moving on, there's financial consumer protection. Financial consumer protection is there to be able to protect the deposits of the people in the banks. This can be seen from a scheme, the deposit protection scheme that we have. That's meant to protect the deposits of people. And also the microfinance is another tenet that was developed by the Zimbabwe National Financial Inclusion Scheme by the Reserve Bank. This helps people who are not able to access loans from the bank to be able to access them from the microfinances. Also moving on, we can see that it was beneficial. How was the Zimbabwean perspective of the financial inclusion beneficial? Let's look at the Women's Bank. It was founded on 25 June in 2018. This was after a research that women have limited access to get funds to start their own businesses, to get farming inputs. So this bank was established to ensure that women, as people who are marginalized in society, get equal opportunities for banking and get equal opportunities for financial inclusion. Also, the Youth Bank, which was founded on the 5th of July 2018, it was meant to ensure that youths have access to funds. So this is basically or generally the financial perspective, financial inclusion perspective of Zimbabwe.
One might ask the question, what does Zimbabwean courts do when disputes arise in this sphere? Zimbabwe has enforced the Contractual Penalties Act, Chapter 804. This is the law that was enforced to control and limit outrageous penalties and charges in contracts, mainly those charges by financial institutions or facilities. In the case of Microplan Financial Services, Private Limited versus Chess Trading Private Limited and Charity Majgara, HC 3182 of 15. In this case, the applicant claimed more interest costs that were found to be exploitative and extortionate. Honorable Justice Bunu dismissed the application on the basis that the application was exploitative and extortionate. We see that the courts actually protect individuals when they are dealing with manipulative financial institutions. Moreover, no court order is to be issued for both commission and costs in litigation. When handling matters to do with public financial institutions and individuals, a court avoids granting costs and commission costs to a litigant, especially which is an individual against a financial institution. In a case, ZCO versus Gouveia 1994, Volume 2 Zimbabwe Law Reports at 311, it was held that the court held that it was not appropriate to give an order or to grant an order for collection of commission as well as costs against the individual. So this is another example to show that litigants, especially individuals, they're mainly protected by the courts against manipulative financial institutions. Zimbabwean courts also apply our common law. This is just an This is a constitutive obligation that is found under Section 176 of the Constitutional Court that grants the Constitutional Court, the Supreme Court, and the High Court inherent power to develop our common law. So the common law principle mainly used in financial inclusion sphere is that of the Inju Bloom rule. The Inju Bloom rule is applied in a way that a judgment creditor should not benefit more from a judgment debtor when they are given or when they claim their interests that are due to them.
In summation, financial inclusion is now considered as one of the main drivers for economic growth and poverty alleviation, which governments, policymakers, and private institutions cannot afford to ignore. The main purpose of financial inclusion is to ensure that quality financial services are accessible to everyone at affordable cost and in a manner that is fair and transparent. It has therefore been established that there are myriad models and strategies that can be devised and adopted in different social, economic, and political contexts, but all aimed at attaining financial inclusion wherever they are implemented. There is no all-size-fits-all type of solution, and countries usually tailor-make these strategies and models to fit their situations. Furthermore, there is no universal definition of financial inclusion, but there are components of the concept which are common in the varying definitions preferred, namely quality, accessible, and affordable financial services for all, especially the less privileged members of the society. As with many other countries, Zimbabwe adopted its own financial inclusion strategy, which scored both successes and weaknesses in the implementation of the first phase. Thus, such experience will be a useful guide in the implementation of the second phase of the strategy. Thank you.